Welcome to Magic Mania, the Orlando Magic 5 Reasons podcast here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. We're joined by Luca, we're joined by Josh, and myself, Jonathan. If you guys aren't already, if you're a Magic fan or a Heat fan, any South Florida, any Florida sports, we got you covered here right on 5 Reasons Sports. Make sure you guys like, subscribe. We appreciate it. And it's free, right? Why not? But let's get into it today. What we'll be getting into is a little bit of, some of those offseason rumors, a couple of trade opportunities for the Magic out there, as well as a couple of free agents that potentially might excite us. So we'll be getting into a couple of those topics, as well as getting into a little bit of how this team could potentially have a run like the Indiana Pacers are having, right? They're having a resurgence of a young team that's making, and we're seeing that a lot more. 4 very young teams are in the Eastern Conference Finals. Jason Tatum is only 19 years old, guys. And so we're seeing a great resurgence of young players, Luca, and you guys have like Ant Edwards, right? Of course, in the East Coast, you have that Indiana Pacers team with Halliburton. I believe he's just 24, right? So I think he just is classified as an independent now. If he was doing his FAFSA 1 year ago, he still would be independent on the parents. So
he's still on the parents' insurance.
Exactly. So let's get into it, guys. Like I said, we'll talk about some of the offseason topics we have. Josh, let's kick it off with you, my man. There's a couple of names that are floating around when it comes to the Orlando Magic stratosphere for targets that this Magic team is looking into. What are some of the names that potentially excites you the most?
I'd say 2 of the biggest names I've heard is Trae Young and Klay Thompson. Both guys come with a wealth of offensive game. We'll see if the Magic can do something with those guys. Trae Young in Atlanta, he's had some highs, he's had some lows, unfortunately. So, maybe it presents a good opportunity to bring him to the Magic. And I think Klay Thompson, definitely a solid veteran presence. Obviously coming from the Warriors and the success he's had there. I personally would welcome Klay Thompson on the Magic. I think, he brings a presence that, like we know, the Magic are a young squad. I think having a bit more championship presence on the team would help guide us in the right direction.
You want someone go ahead, my fault.
No, I want to hear what you guys think. Trae.
Yeah, I was gonna say you want someone that has that championship experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because with a team like this, you don't really know what it takes until you've been there and done that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think with someone like a Klay Thompson, and that's why teams bring in veteran players, right? You saw Miami bring in the Andre Iguodala, the Kevin Loves. Once Dwayne Wade retired, once Udonis retired, right? You had those guys who were on previous championship teams go away, and you had some of those newer champions, even Kyle Lowry, even though I do not like Kyle Lowry's, fat self. We, whatever it may be, he still brought that championship experience. Same thing with Klay Thompson. I think that's a good one. But Trae Young, I mean, the dynamic offensive ability that man could bring to this team, the not only his shooting, people think about that just as he's such a great passer, being able to set guys up like Jonathan Isaacs, people like, just everybody essentially that they have on the team in terms of bigs, they'll make it better. Luca, who are some of the names that excite you, my man?
No, honestly, I love the Trae Young pick. I honestly did see D'Lo, but we're not even going to talk the yuck. I just threw up in my mouth. He stinks. We're not going to talk about that guy. And I think I look, saw Donovan Mitchell kind of popping up on there too, which is like I don't know how good that would be. But I love that you brought up Trae Young, right? Because one, I honestly think that should be their plan. In my opinion, that should be their plan. I think Jalen Suggs, you move him to the 2, have Trae Young running the floor. He doesn't have the championship experience, but let's not forget, guys, he has been to an Eastern Conference Finals. And if you look at him on the defensive side of the ball, obviously, I think he is not a great defender, but I think that his team is also just so absolutely garbage on defense anyway. It just doesn't help his case as it is. Like, I think literally, like, everyone else around him on the defensive side of the ball, the Atlanta Hawks, like, what, bro? Bojan Bogdanovic and Clint Capella, like, who used to be a name back in 2015, but, like, we're in 2024, he's just not that same guy. So I really do think that Trae Young, in my opinion, should be their all-out play. I think that would be such a really, really, really good pickup for them because, like you said, his shooting ability, but he also spaces the floor. He takes so much of the load off of Banchero. He will make it so many things easier for Franz Wagner as well. And I think that, like, I don't think Franz is a bad ball handler, but I think he will succeed just a little bit more if he is off the ball versus where he has to ball handle and take a lot of the load. But then, even though Trae Young could take that Steph Curry role, and we're seeing that a lot in the NBA now, where guards are being more active off the ball than they are with the ball, and Steph Curry has absolutely done nothing but propel that forward. But if not Trae Young, I think another good name that could be possible is Darius Garland. Even though his playoff performance has been a little bit shaky, in recent times, I think he's still a young guard. I think it really does just take a little bit longer for teams to figure that stuff out. And I think if you put him in a system with the Magic, I think he'll actually work a little bit better than he will with the Cavs. Because we're being honest, right? Like Trae Young and Darius Garland, in terms of other than the fact that Trae Young has been to the conference finals, they're very, 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 very similar players. They're both really good, crafty players, can get to the rim, can finish outside as well, and they're really good at setting up their teammates. Darius Garland, but we have said, has struggled in the playoffs. So I think, preferably, I think Trae Young would honestly be the best pick. And Josh, I think that was a really good name that you brought up because I honestly hadn't even heard that one. I think that fits really, really well. But if not Trae Young, I think Darius Garland is a good pick. I think Donovan Mitchell is also okay, but I'm really not high on Donovan Mitchell because of all the stuff going on with him year in and year out. He joins teams, he leaves teams. He joins teams, he leaves teams. Blames everybody else. So I don't know. I think Trae Young's honestly solid though.
Yeah, I definitely can understand that with Donovan Mitchell. But I mean, if you're thinking about who is just the best player out of all those guys, it is Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
It is hands down Donovan Mitchell. This is a guy that's a top 10 playoff scorer points per game wise.
That
all
is very
time,
true.
right?
Mm-hmm.
This is a man that put up 49 points against us in a loss, hit 40 points multiple times against us, can get to the bucket. I mean, what was it? The last 23 points of game 5 was it that he scored, even though he lost, right? It was insane.
That's very true.
So I do think if you are able to get your hands on someone like Donovan Mitchell, that is the one. But I like what you said after that, because if they don't trade him, they actually are potentially looking at trading Darius Garland, right? And I do think that's a good pickup for the Magic. I do believe with, like you said, moving Jalen Suggs to the 2 potentially just lets him flourish a little bit more as maybe a 3-and-D player who is a secondary playmaker, because this Magic team has a lot of playmakers. You mentioned Franz. They don't necessarily have to be a traditional team where the point guard is the playmaker, which we've seen far less and less as, the season teams that move. It's no longer the, Steve Nash and the Rajon Rondos and, the Jameer Nelsons that are running the teams now, right? Now it's the Jokic's and, maybe you have your 3 or your wing actually
evolved,
right? The ball, right? Jimmy Butler for the Heat would be bringing up the ball, right? So it's not necessarily the same thing, but with this team, the Magic team is so good on defense. You can leak a little bit and kind of flow some of that into the offense. I do believe this team is going to continue to grow defensively. They're not going to take a step backwards. They're just going to continue to grow into their bodies. They're still a very young team that's starting to gel together defensively, which showed to this year. So I think out of all the names, with all due respect to Klay Thompson and the playoff experience, I do agree with you, Luca. I think Trae Young would be the best case scenario. He's adding the 3-point shooting. He's gonna allow Paolo to have more space, because you have to respect Trae Young as a shooter. And if you don't, you see the threat that Paolo is potentially able to become come in the playoffs. Of course, in the regular season, wasn't the most accurate at all times, but he was picking up when it came to those side of things. So I see him and Trae Young as an offensive dynamic duo, and you have everybody else surrounding them. Absolutely beautiful.
And real quick, before we real quick, I just want to and I think another thing too that why I actually did like the Trae Young pick so much is although because I think I love what you said about how Donovan Mitchell is so effective at actually scoring the basketball, which I love. But the only reason I would say Trae Young a little bit is only because just how stagnant we saw the offense get at times in the half court. Where with obviously Donovan Mitchell, he's gonna score, he's gonna put the ball in the bucket, but Trae Young just makes the players around him better. I think he is just better at distributing the ball, and I think that's just the Magic have a lot of stars who are really good with the ball in their hands. So I just think that providing him being there and be able to get the ball in their hands is going to allow them to flourish even more and just grow into the players and sprout into these young stars that a lot of these guys are. I think it'll just make them that much better with an actual esteemed guard versus a scoring guard. But not to knock your pick on Donovan Mitchell at all, because I think that you brought up a good point. He's an absolute elite bucket getter, top playoff scorer. He's in there. So
yeah. And I think Trae Young, he was top 5 in assists, or at least early in the season.
No, right.
A facilitator, that'd be great for the Magic.
Yeah, if we were to look since Trae Young entered the league, I wouldn't be surprised if he had been at least top 5 or top 10 in assists every year since he's came into the league. That wouldn't surprise me at all, to be honest. I feel like he's just been that since he's got here, and that's really underrated. It's really forgotten art of the game, man. Just no one moves faster than the ball.
Absolutely. The ball will move faster than anybody trying to run to it, right? So if you
Mhm.
swing, that's looking at that 2014 San Antonio Spurs, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's why Nikola
Double.
Jokic is so good, because if
Oh
you
yeah.
double him, he knows exactly where that ball is going to
Yep.
go to. Even if you
Yep.
try to recover, you're going to close out late
Yep.
whenever you do that. So that's why, like you said, the pass is always faster than the person. So it definitely, if you're able to have someone like him, and also able to get to the free throw line, this is a guy that's able to draw fouls for a team that's not necessarily
Yes.
a team that
Yes.
gets to the line consistently. I think that would be another dimension or a layer for a team, because when you get further into the playoffs, the game slows down.
Yeah. 100%.
And when the game slows down, you want someone that can hit those shots, that can get one-on-one buckets, and also get to the free throw line. So
Yep.
if you have someone like Paolo who can get to the rim and really get, put that rim pressure on you, and then you have someone literally from 5 feet back with his floater game, his
Yeah.
three-point and his deep game, you have the entire floor covered offensively, both
Mhm.
inside and out, with a really good forward and a really good wing, or a really good point guard too. So I
Yeah.
definitely agree with both of that. Josh, anything to add with potentially, the fit with Trae Young before we move on to, how this team could potentially have a run like the Pacers are having?
No, I think we hit it on the head, to be honest. So between you guys and we know what he brings on offense
Yeah.
and how he can help facilitate this team. I think if the Magic go ahead and somehow we're able to get him, I think it would work out.
And we will be doing full breakdowns
Excuse
with,
me.
potential scenarios with Klay Thompson making it on the team. Paul George has also been a name that's been floated out there as well, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Gotta do some 2K simulations.
right. It's the rebuilding. You throw the Paul George on there, but there's a
Yep.
lot of players, as well as a lot of options when it comes to the draft after the season's over. So we'll be getting into some draft coverage, potential picks for this team. Make sure you guys keep it locked in with us, because we'll have you covered all off season for this Magic team, because it's an exciting one, especially for the future of this team looking as bright as it is. I think it's the brightest that it's looked in a long time, right?
Yeah.
It's I don't know the last time that you had this many players, right? You had Dwight Howard before, and then Vucevic before, but he wasn't really necessarily like a
Yeah.
star per se. He was a great bucket getter, 20 and
Mhm.
10 guy over and over again, right? But
Yep.
when you talk about young stars, this team really has a couple of them that's on the way. So, Luca, I'll let you start off with this next topic we have going on. The
Yeah.
Indiana Pacers are led by a young point guard right now,
Yeah.
or just a young player in Tyrese Halliburton. Almost stole one last night. They literally, Josh, like you said,
Reggie Miller.
the call was put in, my boy, right?
Yeah.
The call was put in. So,
Yeah, we saw that.
what was it? The
Right.
24-6 free throw discrepancy there.
Dude, that was
Unfortunately, yeah,
crazy.
they did fall
Mhm.
short to that one, but the Pacers are still, they're very much alive in that Eastern Conference Finals. I think they showed, especially with Al Horford, they're willing to attack and go at him over and over again. But with that Pacers team being so young, it almost makes you think, how close can this Magic team be?
Yeah.
Right? Like, what does this team need to maybe take it from where we were at? And it was a Game 7 series, right? So it really
Yep.
is that much. But what do you see in this Pacers team that makes you feel this Magic team can have a similar run 2-3 years down the line?
Yeah. As someone who literally got to watch, who was honestly blessed with the opportunity to watch, watch him perform in Game Bridge in Game 6 against the Knicks. Dude, I think it's funny that we talked about Trae Young because, dude, they're literally a point guard away. Like they're like, this is like, I know it sounds kind of crazy, and like, it's like, oh, they had their one run season, like they're finally, making the traction that they need. But like, if we look at the roster and like actually the gaps that are missing in this team, the lacks of quality in this team, literally the number one things that we talked about is the offensive stagnation in the half court and the 3-point shooting. And someone who can score the ball. And funnily enough, the guy we were just talking about for the last 14 minutes checks off every single box. I think it's actually so perfect that we brought him up because I really do believe they are point guard away. You look at Tyrese Halliburton, who led the league in all assists this year, and then look what that's gotten his team to. He has the number one scoring offense in the NBA, only no one behind, averaging like 121 points per game. They have the number one assisting offense in the NBA. There's not a single team in the NBA that moves the ball better than them. Got players like TJ McConnell who are doing absolutely bits for them off the bench. He is such an amazing bench player this season. He's really proven his value, and he's reviving his career. He's been in the league a while, you know what I'm saying? So it's really good to see him get his flowers and get his props. But I really do believe that this Magic team could absolutely be exactly Could be a little bit, maybe not exactly in the Eastern Conference Finals, but I think they could, make some noise in the East just like the Pacers are doing because Tyrese Halliburton is playing at a really good level. Even though his numbers did drop down a post All-Star break, people forget that they added Pascal Siakam. He's not going to need to score the ball as much when you have Pascal Siakam doing what he's doing, running the floor, running the break. And on top of that, Miles Turner is playing some absolutely great basketball, dude. He's hooping right now, and I think it's kind of due for him. He's been in the league for quite some time, and it was a lottery pick. We really wanted him to see him, take this role on as the starting center of a championship caliber team. And right now, he's doing everything he can. And they already upset the Bucks, arguably, even though they were injured. Their Bucks were very much injured, but there were still some times where they were doubted. Not a single NBA analyst at NBA.com had them to win against the Knicks. Not one. If you go on the Pacers on Twitter, they literally have the receipts of how every single person voted for the Knicks to beat them in 5 games, 6 games, 7 games. So they're just facing adversity, and I see a lot of that in the same Magic team. They overcome adversity all the time. They put their faith in their leader in Paolo Banchero, and they really do trust him and they ride for him. You know what I'm saying? So I think that it really does work out. And I think with a point guard who's going to be able to distribute the offense, although we're not having a championship over point guard, you still have someone with a lot of veteran leadership who's been in this league for quite a while. And like I said, it has gone to an Eastern Conference Finals, which is a lot than most NBA players can say about their entire career. There's Woody players who never get that far in their whole. Joel Embiid has never been to Eastern Conference Finals. Leave that. I'm gonna leave that right there. Take it that what you will. But I'm just saying, I think that they really are a point guard away from just making that next jump. And I think that no matter who it is, I think that it's gonna be just really, really good. But like you said, Jonathan, earlier, now teams have found plenty of success without traditional point guards. But I just think it's just, for me, in my opinion, I think it just slots in better because with the point guard, you move Suggs to the 2, Franz 3, Paolo 4, whoever the 5. I just think it works really well,
Yeah, for sure. Because of course, they drafted Black, right? And
yes,
he's still a young point guard, but I'm not sure if he's necessarily the facilitator that you're going to be looking for, right? I do like his game. I see flashes here and there, but he still has a long way to go coming to that side of the
Cole
team.
Anthony didn't turn out either.
Yeah, Cole Anthony. I think he's a great sixth man, right? He's a great off the bench. This guy can come off. He's almost like it reminds you of a Terrence Ross style player, right?
Yeah, bro.
Give you some good buckets, right? But isn't the most consistent player at all times. So you don't want him to be the starter. You want him to be the microwave off the bench. Come out, if he can get a couple quick shots and make some buckets, that can swing a game real quick, right? Go on a quick, 8-2 run. You go from up 2 to up 10, right? Or you go from down 5 to up 3, right? That can swing a game. So I like his play style too, but again, not a point guard starter level when it comes to like maybe a championship.
Sean Livingston.
Right, exactly.
Right. Bro, that man will come and get buckets off the post. Don't play with him. That was nasty.
That delayed jump shot in the mid range where he would hang in the air just a little extra. Man, shout out to Sean Livingston. Championship ring, Sean Livingston. That man was a bucket. After his injury, if you, as a young NBA fan, if you have not seen Sean Livingston's injury before and what he did to come back, go check that injury out because it was pretty crazy. If you haven't seen that before. But I definitely agree with you, Luca. I do think it's maybe 1 point guard away, but even if this team just grows internally, right? I mean, you have a lot that this team can still move forward. I mean, Franz Wagner, I think he had a really probably one of the worst performances of his career come Game 7, and I think that potentially could allow him to develop into a better player moving forward, right? Those learning and those painful moments, that's what allows you to become a better player and grow and to become something that's maybe more layered when it comes to your play style, not just having like a one-trick pony. Josh, what about this Pacers team? Do you see same thing with Lucas similarly? What do you see about this Pacers team that reminds you about this Magic team and maybe makes you think that we can go on a run like what they're having?
I think with this Pacers team, we're seeing a team that, to Luca's point, even the NBA analysts counted them out, right? They're underdogs. But, they've kind of gained their composure after All-Star break, with Siakam. And we're seeing a team that, is buying into what they can offer. They're surviving these runs by the Celtics. I mean, when they came out of that first game 1 yesterday, and what was it, a 12-0 run by the Celtics? I mean, some people were questioning, what are we seeing on the floor? But then, they caught themselves, they regrouped, and they made it a close game down the stretch. I think it's kind of a learning opportunity for the Magic. We have a young squad. Game 7 didn't go the way we wanted to, and we started off hot, all that stuff. But I think watching a team being able to survive these runs by a stronger team in certain stats, I think gives us a way to move forward. And yeah, I think kind of you're seeing a team advance in the postseason, Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, you want to emulate that in a way and apply it to your own franchise. So I think those are all notes and tips we can take and apply it to what the Magic are building.
Yep, I agree.
And yeah, and I think to your point, like even from game 1 to game 7 or game 6, I should say, for the Magic, the difference in when the Cavaliers would make a run and how they would respond against it was much different, right? Games 1 and 2 were pretty much blowouts, right? Where you go out there, you didn't punch back, right? It's like the referee tells you in UFC, it's like fight back,
Yeah.
and you
Right. We weren't seeing that.
Yeah, that was funny.
So
I was thinking
with
of a
the
different
Magic,
video, but I was thinking
that one.
that was
But
funny.
with the Magic team, they started to actually fight back a little bit more. And that Pacers team, man, they have fight. Down 12 in the first, again in the third quarter, going down double digits, making it back up. Man, that team had heart. I was really pulling for them to get that win, but Adam Silver made the call. So
it's always fun rooting for an underdog, right? So
it is. It definitely is.
Bro,
especially a team on the road. I mean,
that's what I'm, and bro, I'm not gonna lie, bro. It's just not Boston. That's just me personally, though. Like, I'm really like, I'm gonna keep my own personal vendettas out of this. But that's just me.
It's always fuck Boston.
Come on now.
But,
listen, I didn't know you had to say stuff like that on the pod. If I would have known, I would have thrown it in there.
We keep it one here and there. You know what I mean? We keep it light. But Luka, Josh, it's been a great show, guys. We're about 20 minutes deep. For everybody that was still kicking it with us, we appreciate you guys watching. We're going to keep your Magic coverage here coming throughout, like I said, the rest of the postseason, making sure you guys have coverage, making sure you guys up to date with everything. And if anything happens, we'll be the first one to make sure you guys got it covered. Luka, Josh, appreciate you guys as always. Anybody that's watching, appreciate you guys too. But as always, thank you guys for watching. And Josh, what's the word?
Go Magic.